they're highly sophisticated criminal networks. They're not drug gangs. They're not a group of people that hang out and got together and, hey, let's do this. No, these are highly.
This isn't your neighborhood gang of teenage hooligans.
These are not the corner street gang pushing drugs. These are highly sophisticated networks. Again, think of them, the cartels. We have 5 major of the cartels, but within those 5 major cartels, you have sub-cartels that work for the bigger cartel. Mm-hmm. Think of DHS and think of all these, right? Yeah. The same thing. And so you have all these cartels spread out around the whole country of Mexico, and their motive is power and money, corruption. They have a stronghold on the political system in Mexico, on the police system, on the media, and a lot of other trades, the lime trade, the avocado trade, the petroleum trade. They have their hands in all these activities. And of course, narcotics, fentanyl, meth, and now human smuggling, human trafficking. When I investigated these people, they were separate. They were drug cartels. That's all they did. They used to call them DTOs, drug trafficking organizations. That's no longer what they are. They're terrorists is what they are. And so now they've taken over all of that illicit activity. But I want people to understand, just if you would place yourself in the United States and just think for a second, if a group of several thousand individuals heavily armed, and I'm talking about highly sophisticated weaponry, intelligence, armored vehicles, and equipment, took over 40% of the United States, physical control of 40%. That means, let's say a group took over Washington, D.C., not the police and not the government. It was this group of armed men that work in extortion, murder, kidnapping, drugs, and human trafficking. That's what they do. Well, that's exactly what's happening in Mexico, but they're headquartered in Mexico. The effects and the ripple effects affects us here in the United States. That's the big issue with the cartels. But here's the broader picture of the cartels. They're actually the soldiers, if you think about it, even though as highly sophisticated networks that they are and generate billions of dollars, they're actually working for China, working for Venezuela, working for Cuba. This is where the big national security threat that we face in this United States is, because of the activities through the cartels, but through the bigger entities of that we know are an imminent threat to our national security and our safety here.
What are those 5 cartels called? And then what is the sort of distinctions between how they operate? Are they competitive with each other? Do they fight against each other, or are they sort of allied in their interests? How does that inter-competition work?
So I'm going to name them for you, and I'm going to kind of go from South Texas and the Brownsville area, all on the Mexican side. You got the Gulf Cartel, and right now the Gulf Cartel is in a huge war with CDN. CDN is Cartel del Noreste, or Cartel of the Northeast, which is a faction of Los Zetas, the ones that shot us. The factions were kind of dismantled after the shooting. A lot of people went to prison in the hierarchy, and they factioned off to CDN. They could want to control from the Gulf all the way to like the Laredo, Texas area. Then you have the Cartel Jalisco New Generation. Cartel Jalisco New Generation is a very violent, very they faction off from another cartel as well, and they're basically out of the Jalisco area, but now they all come towards the border and try to work in those to get those corridors and smuggling routes. Then you have the Sinaloa cartel, which is probably between the Cartel Jalisco New Generation. I think the Sinaloa cartel is probably the most powerful one. Even though we got these both entities earning billions of dollars. The Sinaloa cartel takes from parts of El Paso all the way till California. And there was a big cartel back in the 90s that controlled most of it, was the Juarez cartel. They have been really hurt and dismantled as well. And they also go by another name called La Línea, or the line. They're still there. They're still there fighting for their territory, but mostly it's those. It's the Sinaloa, Gulf, Zeta, CDN, and Gulf Cartel.
And so practically speaking, if you're someone who lives along the border and on either side, either in Mexico or in the United States, what is an ordinary citizen's daily experience with these cartels likely to be?
On the U.S. side, I could tell you it's a way of life. You just know that they're there. Mm-hmm. You just know they're not necessarily fearing for your life in El Paso or McAllen, Texas, but they're there. They're there in the restaurants. They're there at the bars. They're there shopping. They're there. they have houses. They live a lot of them live in the U.S. or have dual houses and live both in Mexico and the U.S. because they conduct business on both sides of the border. But they're from there. They live there. The people are from there. They haven't learned to deal with it. Now, on the Mexican side is very different because the violence is there. They know that at any given moment, you could be caught up in a shooting. And this is where the cartels kill a lot of innocent people. They might want to come in and kill both of us here, but if they'll come and shoot all of us. They don't care. They don't have no concern or for human life. They'll just take people out. Sometimes they'll do it intentionally and kill innocent people, dress them up as police officers, hang them from bridges, and call them rival cartel members to send messages to the other cartel. Do they fight amongst them? Absolutely. They're always fighting for territory, the plazas they call it. They're always fighting for more money, more control. And they have on the border, they've had the control for a long time, but they really run a parallel government in the U.S. and in Mexico now. They have a huge influence in the whole country, and especially the border. And a quick case that happened a couple of months ago where African Americans went to Matamoros on the other side of Brownsville and were shot and killed. And there was video of them where the cartel shot them and then took the bodies and threw them in the back of a pickup truck. And people were asking, what the heck is going on? Never did the police ever intervene. It was the cartel shot them. The cartel returned the bodies. The cartel caught the bad guys, their own cartel member, and said, these individuals are the ones responsible for killing these Americans. They put a notice out apologizing, saying this is not the way we conduct business, and then put the individuals for the authorities to be arrested. And nowhere was the police, the federal government, or the Mexican authorities ever present in that. But I tell people that's a great example to see how the cartel is actually the ones that control all of it there. Yeah.
What is it that you think people get most wrong about how the cartels actually work and how this system operates?
They're underestimated. That case, there was another case recently of Americans traveling that were killed. They're underestimated with their intelligence network. They're underestimated with the money that they generate, and they're underestimated with the presence that they have in the United States and in 40 to 50 countries abroad.
Mm-hmm. And on the Mexican side or in any of these foreign countries, I'll ask the same question. Is the government ideologically in support of the cartels? Are they corrupt? Are they incompetent and the cartels are more competent than them, so they're taking over these roles? What exactly is the breakdown there, you think?
It's corruption. It's definitely corruption. And ideology in Mexico, the government, the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, socialist communist. He said from day one that he'd rather give the cartels hugs instead of bullets. He said that he wasn't going to address it. And he never talks about it. And you have these huge incidents that happen in Mexico, huge, incredible violence. I get the videos on a daily basis from my sources, and shootouts and shootings and beheadings and crazy, crazy violence. But he doesn't want to talk about it. They ignore the elephant in the room. But he has given them full carte blanche to do whatever they want. That's why he doesn't worry about his safety. He doesn't worry about his own personal security, because nobody wants to kill him, because he's allowing them to do whatever he wants. Well, guess who's doing that the same? This administration, the Biden administration, is allowing them with an open border system to do whatever they want. Well, now you've created, basically between these two governments, these two administrations have created a monstrosity of a public safety issue and national security, an imminent threat to our country that could easily be dealt with, but they've chosen not to purposefully.